All right, welcome back to the Elias Macko Show. Class action lawsuit being proposed by Montreal law firm targets Bell. And by the way, Bell owns CJAD at the end of the day, owns Bell Media. Targets Bell, TELUS, and Rogers over their unlimited data plans. Data, I'll let you decide. They argue that the unlimited data plan is misleading as the mobile download speed becomes 500 times slower than the Canadian average download speed after reaching a certain threshold. Joey Zukran's with us, attorney at LPC Avocat, leading this class action lawsuit. Welcome back to the show, Mr. Zukran. Joey, thanks for coming back.
Thank you for having me on.
Now, you love class action lawsuits. I know you love them. You come on all the time to talk about them. Why is this one a big deal? What are you alleging here from Canada's cell phone companies?
So our firm is actually leading this case with Lex Group. So we're two law firms specializing in class actions, and both happen to be involved in litigation involving Rogers outages. So we have a good handle on the issues here with wireless companies. What happened was about a week or 10 days ago, there was an announcement that the competition commissioner filed a lawsuit against Rogers alleging that the term Rogers unlimited data or Rogers infinite data plans were misleading because these were not, in fact, unlimited data plans, but limited plans. If you're going to describe them properly, they're limited up until a certain amount of data, at which point it becomes limited to speed. So they throttle you. In short, they throttle you, which means they reduce your speed significantly. And anyone who has a 10 or 20 gig plan and all of a sudden either can't receive their emails or can't stream or watch Netflix, Spotify, YouTube, etc., will know the pain we're referring to.
Okay, but to me, like, I've seen the advertising and the marketing for these various plans from whatever company it comes from. And I have to be honest, as a consumer, maybe they use a term that's unlimited, infinite. They'll use these terms, but to me, it has been clear with the additional text that, hey, this isn't a free party. Once you reach a certain limit, they're going to lower the speed. To me, it's clear. Are you alleging that they've done some things that have made it unclear?
Well, it's perhaps to Elias Macko, it's clear.
Yeah.
But to the competition commissioner, it's not. And I'll take it a step further. I understand what you're saying, and there's actually jurisprudence outside of Quebec that supports what you're saying. So what happened was Rogers responds to the Competition Bureau by saying, hey, Competition Bureau, we're not doing anything wrong, and here's, in a 600-page document, here's how Bell and TELUS also advertise it exactly like us. And they base themselves on a 2013 Superior Court decision rendered in Ontario that says it is clear to this is what Rogers says. It may be clear to the consumer in the market for unlimited data. So the three big providers, Rogers, TELUS, and Bell, come out and say it's unlimited, but they expect the average consumer to know that in that market, unlimited doesn't actually mean unlimited. It means what you just described, limited up until a certain amount of data. But you know who doesn't advertise that way? Videotron. And unlike that decision in the Ontario Superior Court, there's a Quebec decision that was confirmed by the Supreme Court that says the test for the general impression that a publicity gives is the credulous and inexperienced consumer. So when you put a big sign that says unlimited data, come into my store, the Supreme Court says that in Quebec, you cannot correct that false representation at a later stage. Otherwise, you would be opening the door to what's called bon dol, which is good fraud. And this concept has been excluded from the Quebec Consumer Protection Act. So you cannot correct a false representation with fine print.
So on the terms being used in the unlimited, right? Now, if your internet continues to work, it's not at the same speed, and I imagine what the networks are trying to do is prevent abuse. Like if someone were to use a cell phone connection just to download movies nonstop all day, I think some people would call that abuse of the system. It makes the cell phone network worse for everyone else. If you can still use your internet, but it's just at a rate where you can only get emails and do your Google Maps data, that kind of stuff, doesn't it still constitute being unlimited, even if the speed is lowered?
I'm sorry. So I don't think that the average person is abusing their data. I know that there are many countries in the world, if you've gone to Europe or the Middle East recently, that have actual unlimited data plans. So that's a non-issue in those places. And even if that were the case, the plan should be advertised as limited, not unlimited. And I have kids. I don't know if you do, but if your listeners have kids, They're watching Spotify, they're watching YouTube, they're watching Netflix, they're on TikTok. If all of a sudden you remove all those applications and you happen to be on a trip away, for example, and it's happened to me, and you can't use Waze and you can't watch movies, your phone is not functional. So yes, you can maybe receive a text message or a WhatsApp message or make a phone call, but the phone is not functional. It's now limited. You have now limited use of your phone. And we're okay with selling the plans that way. But it has to be advertised in a way that's clear, and you can't use words like unlimited to describe something that is not unlimited, that after a certain amount of data restricts your usage of your plan.
So on the on the roaming front, going to other countries, my goodness, I've heard the stories there. I just I just want to get on the within Canada front. It's like, are you talking to people where this really has dinged them? Because I'm trying to get to the amount of usage required. I get your point. You've got kids, they're using YouTube and Spotify. But even with that in mind, you have to use it a lot to reach those thresholds where they start to throttle you. But are you finding a lot of people who have been impacted and hurt by this?
Absolutely. So, and if you sit at any family dinner this holiday and just ask the question, I'm sure several people will raise their hand. I actually had a family dinner this weekend, and a few of them raised their hands. So remember, the Rogers has different pricing points. So, and this is the case of the lead plaintiff. She has a 10 gig plan. 10 gigs, I can probably go through in a day in some days. So, yes, if you take an 100 gig plan, your point has some sense. It'll take a lot of usage to get to it. But on a 10 gig plan, a couple of days later, you can already be out of it just by watching just by watching a Netflix series. So, yes, we are hearing a lot of people saying, I can't use my emails, I can't use my, and they're willing to, some of them have even signed affidavits. So they're willing to, provide the evidence, but it's also common sense. I don't think this is going to be a very difficult case to prove that the term unlimited does not mean unlimited. It just need a dictionary, and we're confident we'll be able to get this case authorized.
So, on that front, progress in this, you're still waiting for authorization.
Exactly. So it was just filed a couple of weeks ago, and again, the Commissioner of Competition is doing some parallel work against Rogers only. And yes, we're waiting for it to be authorized, which should happen sometime in the next year.
Joey, you've got to leave it there. It's always a pleasure talking about the various class action lawsuits. Thanks so much.
Thank you, and happy holidays.
You too. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, all that. Joey Zukran is an attorney at LPC Avocat and one of the two firms behind that proposed class action lawsuit. When we return on the Elias Macko Show, housing construction in this province has fallen drastically. The Montreal Economic Institute thinks they know the reasons why. We're going to talk to them about it next.